Hello. It's been over a month since I uploaded a video, but it seems that this summer, which almost over and I enjoyed it a lot, I've been getting so many emails. I would say I wouldn't exaggerate if I say about 100 within the last few months talking about stuckness. How do I get out from this stuckness, this stagnation, this limbo state? And some people have been in it for a very long time. Some may be just feeling it now, feeling its impact. Well, I'm going to make this very brief, but let's understand what stuckness means. Because stuckness reflects in every area of one's life. It reflects in your marriage, in a relationship, in the beliefs that you have, in the way of viewing life, and in every walk of life, in every area. So, let's understand stuckness. You are a human being. This was a revelation to me that made things very, very clear. And once you understand you're a human being, everything falls into place. This means that you're a duality creature. The human and the being are totally opposite each other, and yet they are really one. Because the human is needed in order to realize being. Once the being is realized, it takes over. And then there is a wholeness. The human and the being become totally one, integrated as complete. But what happens in the interim, and we are living in a very critical age, my goodness, we're expanding, we're moving, we're speeding towards a consciousness now that compared to the 60s, it's about moving about 20 years down in 1 year of life now. So, and stuckness, it means this, that since we are a human being, we like to emphasize the human because we're afraid of going into the unknown called being. The human is always seeking, wanting, needing, striving, and wants to go someplace, but it wants to do it with its own identity, which is very personal. And the being is universal. After all, there are, almost 7 billion humans on this earth, but there's only one being. And so venturing into the being is a very scary thing for most people, because you begin to believe that somehow you're going to lose your identity. But of course, you're always you. Okay. Now, this is what happens. You see, you get so stuck in your way of seeing and looking that it comes into every area of your life. This means that there is a split. And the split is this. When you feel stuck, you really find yourself stuck not only in your work, in your relationship, but also in your home life. So you find it mundane, you find it boring, you find it as if you're not going any place. In other words, you are stuck. Okay, but that stuckness is self-created. And this is where it becomes a little scary. And the reason why you remain stuck, because that's what stuckness means. It means that you are not willing to give up what you believe to be so. You're not willing to expand beyond your idea of self, of identity that you have. And although you might not admit it, again, because you're stuck, you see, you keep going back into it. You might read many books, you might read channeled writings, you might read, you might be very, very sincere in your way of finding truth, but you still come back to that old idea of sticking with the human rather than the being. You don't want to integrate them as much, because there's a fear of losing something, a fear of plunging into an abyss which of course doesn't exist. In other words, You're not willing to step out of your comfort zone into the unknown part of you. And so the question arises, but what can we do to get out of this great stuckness, which again often leads to depression, hurt feelings, self-protection, self-defense, because again we are afraid to go beyond our way of seeing. It is too threatening. It is too frightening. And so we'd rather live a mundane life because it is familiar, rather than get out of our comfort zone. That's what stuckness is. You see, sometimes, of course, life gives you a little kick, and it creates a tragedy, it creates some misfortune, it creates some loss, in which you're forced to move out of your comfort zone. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing in disguise, because no matter how scared you are, you've got no choice. And it's pushing you out of that level because it loves you so much. After all, it's all about love anyway. So the key question now is, how do we get out of this stuckness? Well, it is called intimacy with your feelings. Now, intimacy with your feelings, remember, intimacy. In other words, it has only to do with you. It has nothing to do with your partner. It has nothing to do with your marriage. It has nothing to do with your work. It has to do with you. Once you see that clearly, then you get out of it. But another thing that happens with stuckness is that if you are in a relationship, for example, and since there is stuckness, then of course you're having trouble in the relationship naturally, because there is stuckness in you. So therefore, you try to project this onto your partner. And of course, the relationship is a mirroring. So, you know, if he looks at you being stuck, he'll say, well, you know, I'd like to see you happy. I'd like to see you take responsibility, or you can get out of it, or let's talk about it, but whatever. But even this, you begin to see a threat, as if somebody is trying to fix you, somebody is trying to change you. So you become very defensive, again going back to your stuckness. See, stuckness is a very, very solid thing to the human. Because the human is fighting for its life. It doesn't want to lose itself into the being. It really thinks that it is that human identity. It's so strong in it. As a matter of fact, you know, we are a being playing the human role. See, but we do it the other way around. So being intimate means intimacy. I'm repeating myself. And this means that even words like love, let me explore it. And then you find there's no limit to it. That's what it means to plunge into the unknown. All the ideas that you've had about love or happiness or peace or joy or anything meaningful, the spiritual life that is, you'll find it has nothing to do with what you think about it. It has nothing to do with words that you're using to describe it. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And the beautiful thing about our evolution as human beings is that there is no end. Everything that you think is your perception, is your way of seeing. In fact, there is no world out there other than your perception of it. It is your observation of it that makes it real to you. And what you observe is based on what you see. So, in order to go deeper than that, in order to start moving and evolve from that stuckness, is to really be intimate with yourself. This means, and this is where, again, it becomes a little bit scary, because anything that you believe about yourself in a personal way is not personal at all. It is the human part of you, it is the human part of you, which is personal, keeping you stuck so that you don't venture out of it. But in reality, you're not personal. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you become intimate with your feelings, you find that the love that you feel or the fear that you have, as you go deeper into it, it begins to dissolve and becomes something else.